Sear, our non-stimulant, thermogenic, and recomposition agent. Sear is a super cool product because it's going to help you utilize turning your white adipose tissue, which is for storage of fat, into brown adipose tissue, which is going to help with energy production. So this is great to use for a competition prep or in your weight loss phase. So you can stack it with a stimulant-based thermogenic, or you could also use it in your off-season or muscle building phase to help keep you lean and mean. Sear.
All right, guys, I got a special guest today, and I just found out some very interesting news. So this is Whittney Archie, who was our champion from our summer sculpt. And Whittney, you said you almost didn't even submit your final pictures?
That's correct. Yeah. I was on the Facebook page and I saw everyone starting to submit like their pictures that they were going to submit as their finals. And I was like, man, my transformation isn't that impressive. Like, these people are insane. I'm just like so blown away, right? And so I almost didn't submit. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to submit because I'm so proud of like where I've made it in this journey. And then I did, and I was like, what? I didn't think I had a chance at the top 10. And then here I am today, the winner. So
Yeah, I think a lot of people can get caught up when they're doing these challenges, looking at people's after and not really realizing we don't judge the after, we judge the transformation, right? Some people might be shredded or have more muscle or this, something like that. But what we are looking for is the people that make the biggest change, the transformation, meaning it's not just about weight loss. It's not just about how crazy you look. It's not a bodybuilding competition. It's not being judged like how you look that day. And so I think there was a lot of things about your transformation that, you know, I think speak to women in general of where they kind of get stuck with their fat loss. And so you're a mom.
yes.
You're busy. You're not a fitness professional, right? So talk me through what got you to decide to join this challenge. Was this your first one?
Yeah, so this is my first transformation challenge ever. I actually had my third daughter in January. And so when we started the challenge, I was almost 5 months postpartum, and I was like, you know, I just really want to like kickstart my fat loss journey and really get my body back. I did actually get my pro wellness OCB card when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter.
Okay.
So I do compete in bodybuilding, but I didn't think that I would bounce back, right? Bounce back is like the goal for everyone. And so I was kind of frustrated that my body wasn't where I wanted it to be. And I was like, you know what? I love your videos. I love watching like all the information that you put out there. I met you actually at the Arnold with my family. And I just felt like you're such a great person. And I was like, I want to give this challenge a shot and see what I can do, you know, just see what happens. And so I committed that I was going to, you know, give myself that time, that 8 weeks, and like really commit to me, which I think is hard for us moms. Like, we have a hard time like putting the time aside for us to have our own time to work on our own fitness, our own health. And so after having my third daughter, I just really wanted to get back into the best shape of my life and to really be proud of who I am as a mother and as a example for other women.
Yeah, I mean, you said a lot there. I think you probably already had a pretty good skill set from competing previously, but having 3 children at home, you know, I have 3 children at home, and I can definitely attest to the feelings of guilt around putting yourself first at times. But I can say, you know, the way I think of it is like your kids see you and you lead by example. So when you make yourself happy, they are better for it. So how old are your children?
So I have a 10-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 7-month-old now.
Okay, so yeah, we're 10, 6, and 4. So
Yeah.
kind of we got the same range, like a 10, you got a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
So when did you compete? Was it between the 10 and the 2-year-old?
So I competed my first time ever back after I had my first daughter, so 10 years ago. And then I didn't compete again until after I had my second daughter.
Oh, wow.
And so I took a long time off. And then I got back on stage and didn't place. And so I was really defeated. And then I was told to switch categories, and then I continued on and I competed in wellness my next time, and I won my wellness card, or pro wellness card. And then literally not kidding you, 2 weeks later found out I was pregnant while I was on stage.
So you have a history of competing right after you have a kid. It's like your
Yes.
get back your your pre baby body.
Yes, I think I thrive under chaos, and so because I'm like already so flustered with, like, I work a full-time job and then I have a lot of side hustles just because I like to be busy.
Yep.
And so I think the structure of bodybuilding really helps me stay on track and helps me like be better in just all areas of life, to be honest. So yeah.
I've said that many times. You know, I was 32 when I did my first bodybuilding show, and my life got way better after. And I think the biggest takeaway for me was the time management. You know, when you're trying to do a lot of things, you have to learn how to manage your day better. And once you do that, you can
Yeah.
apply that skill to work, to school, to family. Like you can manage your time better. Let's talk a little bit about, so how old are you, Whitney?
I'm 32 actually. I turned 33
32.
this month. Yeah.
You're still a baby. So let's talk a little bit about the specifics. I want to talk about the weight loss, but I also want to talk about your calories, you know, how you managed cardio and things like that. So what
Mhm.
was the total weight loss over the course of the summer sculpt?
It was over 20 pounds. I want to say it was like 23 pounds, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, that's very significant. But obviously if you've competed before, you've seen your body in pretty incredible shape. So, and you always had those skills to do the work. Did you utilize the meal plans or any of the workouts that we provided, or did you just kind of lean on your own skills?
So I followed somewhat of the meal plans at first, and then I switched over to something a little bit more bland, to be
Yeah.
honest, like basic, just because it was like natural reaction to stick to just really easy foods that I could
Yeah.
make and keep on eating every day. But yeah, I didn't do the workout programs, but the support group was like life-changing.
Yeah, the private group. I think that's the common thread every time I have these conversations, the motivation and the support and the, you know, the community that the group creates is pretty powerful. So I don't know if Christine has reached out to you, our director, but we were hoping to have you in the next challenge group just to, you know, pop in every now and then and give some support.
Yeah, I plan on being there. I was actually going to join just because I talked my sister and brother-in-law into joining the challenge next month. So
Yeah. Yeah. We're excited for this one. We've never done a fall one, so we're curious to see how it goes.
yeah, I'm
So,
excited too.
yeah, it's right after the holiday and it ends right before the next holiday.
Mhm.
And I think with summer ending, kids getting back in school, I think a lot of people are probably, you know, okay, what can I do in this little window of time to improve myself? So
Yeah.
we're learning. So do you recall kind of where you set your calories at to start?
Yeah, so I pulled all my data and made sure I had it ready for you. So I started around 1600 calories. And I will say that
What
was
was
a
your
little bit
starting weight? Do you remember your starting weight?
like 100 and almost 50 pounds.
Okay.
And I am still nursing my daughter, so I didn't want to drop my calories too low, and because I was worried about losing my supply. But I started around 1600 calories, and the lowest I ever got was 1100, and that was like the last week. But that was only like the week before that I did a refeed of like 2000 calories,
Yeah.
and it like jump started my system again. And so when I went into the final week, I felt really good and I had like way more energy and everything. So didn't lose my supply at all. Actually, it increased, which was strange. And yeah, I did a lot of my cardio with my kids, so that like made it doable.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about that. So did you start off like tracking steps, or do you have some type of cardio machine at home where you go into the gym?
So I have a walking pad at home. I work remote, so I have a walking pad, but I wasn't using it. To be honest, I like was doing zero cardio if I possibly could. It was probably like maybe 2000 steps a day. So it was
Wow.
really low. And then I was still working out like 5 days a week, but I wasn't really lifting with intent, you could say. So I went from that to like actually having a plan, doing more sets and more reps, and like really targeting my workouts to be what I wanted. in the future. And then cardio went from like that 2,000 steps a day to almost 10,000 steps a day. And I was doing 30 minutes of Stairmaster for like 2 weeks. And then I moved it up to 45 minutes and then moved it up again 2 weeks later to 60 minutes.
Okay.
So I progressively moved it up because I just knew that I wasn't going to be able to handle it all at once.
So I've had this little hack for a while now. I've been staying pretty lean, and it's my 10-year-old is into soccer, so he's got soccer. I swear it's like 8 days a week they play soccer.
Yeah.
So my thing is, like, when I go to the soccer practice, I just walk the whole time. I either walk a track or I walk around the practice. Were you finding ways to kind of be more active during the day?
Yeah, so we moved into a new neighborhood like a few months before this competition actually. And so I took my girls out and we just walked the neighborhood just to see like where we are living, who all we live around, just to like sightsee, you know?
Yeah.
And so I would put one on my body, I'd hold one in a sling, and then the other one would be in a stroller, and my 10-year-old would be besides us. So it was a lot, but it was super fun, and they like really enjoyed getting out, and it was like our time to just be together. So
Yeah. So that's the one thing that I find is that we can get pretty sedentary when we don't kind of force ourselves to move. And everybody that I've interviewed, like Gabe, who won for the men, Dan, who won our last one, they've just gotten really particular about tracking their activity, their steps. Were you using any type of tracker?
yeah, so I have my Apple Watch that I track with, and then like my food I was tracking with MyFitnessPal. And so I was very strict on like following my plan. I would get up at 5 a.m. and do the stairs before I'd get on work, and then I'd track all my food throughout the day, like the day before, because it's another topic you guys had on one of your podcasts was talking about planning your day out, and if you don't, you are pretty much gonna fail. And that's been my history, has been not planning ahead and then it not working out. So I was planning my meals ahead, having them prepped and ready to go, and then it was just easy. Like it just got easier every single day because I had a routine. And so yeah, I tracked everything.
Yeah, I've often said when I've dieted, for competitions, that there are phases where I am the best version of myself, because when you have your whole day planned out, it really frees up your mind to like either be creative or get work done or whatever. When you're constantly every couple hours going, what am I going to eat? What am I going to eat? It stops your train of thought. It takes you out of whatever you're doing. And then now you're hunting for food. And of course, you're not going to go grill chicken and boil, make rice. You're going to go to the drive-through because you want to get back to work or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
it's it makes it almost like cruise control. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to think. So how has it been as a parent? Because I know this is something that a lot of people ask me, being around foods and snacks and leftovers and things like that. Is your significant other the Hoover, or?
He loves to eat everything. He actually sabotages me quite a bit. He brings home crumble cookie every time I go on a diet, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? But I appreciate it because I feel like he's like making sure I stay accountable to me. And so yeah, there's always treats around my house, and my kids are always eating like not the greatest food, to be honest. They like chicken nuggets and rice, but then they also like their hot dogs and French fries. So I let them eat what they want to eat, but I feel like I just have a switch that flips on in my mind, and then I'm like, I'm all in.
Yeah, I'm going to eat my meals. The rest, that doesn't bother you. I very much get that. And I don't know if that's related to the deadline, because that's something like, as a competitor and as someone that enters a challenge like this, there's something pretty powerful about knowing you're going to be seen either through pictures or on a stage, right? And I don't know that everybody has that. Maybe that's the trick. That's why, I remember, working with my first coach, thinking like, oh, I've got to get my cardio done. I've got to hit my macros because I've got to send pictures to my coach every week. And it became a thing that was my driving decision maker.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree 100%. I think that's really what pushes me knowing that there's an end date, and my body's going to be on display.
Yeah. Yeah. That type of accountability is hard to it's kind of hard to like make up. You can't artificially have that. It's got to be very real, because a lot of people will say, well, I want to lose 10 pounds. Well, do you want to lose 10 pounds, or do you want to go out and have drinks with Susie? Ooh, yeah, I haven't seen Susie in a couple of weeks, right? So
Yeah.
you start to make these decisions in the moment versus going, hey, Susie, I'm going to come out for drinks with you, but I am in this competition and I got to take a picture or I got to get on a stage. I think
Right.
that's pretty powerful. And what ends up happening, at least in my experience, is you go meet with Susie, she sees your dedication, and in a short amount of time, she's like, hey, what are you doing? Can you help me?
Yeah.
So you start to become the person that people will rely on. So it's been a couple weeks since the challenge ended. A big part of this for me is not just, I don't want people just dropping a bunch of weight for a picture and then leaving themselves in a bad position. So how has your post diet or post transformation, been?
I've actually lost another percentage of body fat in 5 pounds. And so I've continued, I dropped my cardio down to 30 minutes a day again. So I'm not doing that as often. And I kept my steps at 10,000 steps, but I'm not doing anywhere close to the same amount of intensity as I was. And I'm eating like 2,000 calories a day. So I wanted to be able to get back into eating properly and like getting my body the fuel that it needs, but also staying within the mindset of like continuing forward. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's working.
Yeah. So you went from essentially 1,100 calories. Did you go right to 2,000, or did you just start walking them
No,
up?
I reversed back. I reversed back, and it was a fast reverse. Like every day I would add another 100 calories,
Okay.
but yeah, I reversed.
Yeah, I'll say that fat storage after a diet, it's not so much that the calories go up, it's that most people, they're, you know, gorging, or they're not tracking, or they're going back to their old routines for multiple days.
Yeah.
1 or 2 days can actually be of a benefit.
Mhm.
You said you've actually lost weight since the challenge ended.
Yeah, I did have those, like I did have a weekend that I just ate everything in sight, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I made like stuffed cookies for a bodybuilding competition for my friends and was like, all right, it's time for me to eat all of these cookies. But then I went back into it like come Monday morning, I was like, all right, it's time to get back into it. And so that's when I started increasing every day 100 calories. And I was
So
like,
you're still doing the same food prep and still kind of the same patterns?
yeah, it's all the same foods. Essentially, I did add some cinnamon bread back in, but other than that, like it's still chicken, rice, lots of like
The
potatoes.
Pepperidge Farm bread?
Yes, I
Oh
love
my
it. It's
gosh, I
so
love
good.
that stuff. And the macros are pretty good on it. Yeah.
They are. They're really great. So
Had that
yeah,
in
I
a
make
while.
that work every single day.
Yeah, yeah, I forgot about that. There was a one prep where I had like 2 pieces every morning.
Oh yeah.
That takes me back. I just remember it's the fancy bread because it's got 2 wrappers. Um,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's funny. So you've competed. You've obviously already made this transformation. Has this kind of spurred on any interest in returning to the stage at any point?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm planning on getting back on stage soon.
Oh,
I'm not
awesome.
actually going to share a date yet because I'm not 100% sure, but I want
Okay.
to qualify for the Orton next year. So I'm going to probably get on stage really within the next few months.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah, I did the Orton in 2018, 2019, one of those years. I always wanted to go back. I got second in the pro men's physique at the Orton, and I always wanted to go back and win.
Yeah.
But it's just life happens. So
Yeah. I get that.
I think it was 2018. I have to look. Gosh, it feels like it was yesterday, and it's like 6 years already. Crazy how that works.
Yeah.
So well, that's exciting. I mean, I think we've had a few people. In fact, we had a few of the people that did our challenge. They looked so good at the end that I actually created a new category, because although they made a transformation in 8 weeks, it wasn't as dramatic as say yours, but their ending was so good. And I called it the competition prospect or physique prospect. They both, male and female, ended up getting on stage. The gentleman won his OCB pro card.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she, I believe, won her class at a show. So,
Okay.
so like, yeah, I think, obviously with my content and the things that I do, I understand there's a large group of us that are interested in competing, but I think there's a lot of parallels that I've noticed between the challenge and competing, like the deadline aspect and time management. I get that not everybody wants to get on stage and pose and
Mhm.
put a suit on and a tan.
Yeah.
Um, but so what got you interested in that initially?
So weirdly enough, like I said, I had my daughter 10 years ago, and growing up, I was always told like once you have kids, you just lose your body, you never get it back. And so like I think I'm just stubborn, and I was like, no, 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 that's not going to be me.
Right.
I'm going to show you that I can do this. So I wanted to compete, and so I started putting the work in, and I was like, I'm going to compete after a baby, and I'm going to have the best body I've ever had in my life. And that's the truth. I've grown more muscle, and I look better than I ever did, even today, than I did years ago. And so I just never wanted to let having children be the reason I was out of shape.
Sure. Yeah, I think, from in my experience, having kids actually made it easier for me to stay in shape from the perspective of I didn't feel the pressure to like always be out with my friends. That social, my 20s where I was very social. It was
Yeah.
hard. Some days I'm going to the gym 5 days a week, and on the weekends I'm just drinking my face off for 2 days, and it's like a kind of a seesaw. Whereas now I don't have that. The consistency is much higher.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you get old like me, you can just tell people no.
Yeah. Well, and I quit drinking 5 years ago, and I think that was like a game changer. So,
Oh,
yeah.
so you haven't had a drink in 5 years?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I did 1 year alcohol free. And even to this day, if I have a drink, it's one day a month, maybe, it's not a major part of my life, but I didn't want to completely eliminate because I do enjoy a margarita every now and then.
Yeah.
But what gave you that reason? Was it just time to cut it out?
I was just making stupid decisions, and I was a single mom at the time with my oldest, and so I wanted to be a better example for her. And so I was like, this isn't what I need in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I found the shocking thing that I found from not drinking, because I travel a lot for work. I found my recovery, my sleep, I just had more energy all the time.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't ever want to sound like a, alcohol's bad for you type person, but I mean, there's almost no benefit, right? It's just
Yeah.
maybe the social benefit, but yeah, I considered never drinking again, but I was like, you know what? In the moment, I'll have a drink or two, but that's about it. Yeah. So
Yeah. I always tell people I'm crazy enough as it is. I don't need a drink to be crazy. I'm like the life of the party, no matter if I'm drunk or if I'm not. So, you know,
that helps. Yeah. It definitely does bring people out of their kind of, um, you know, their shell if
yeah,
they are a little
yeah,
bit more shy, introverted.
yeah.
Um, yeah. Well, anything else you'd like to add about this challenge? Anything that came up, or any of your big takeaways?
Um, I just like I really want to say that I think people are capable of way more than they think that they are, and you might not see it every single day, but like I said, I wasn't going to submit my final pictures, and when I compared my first to my last, I was like, whoa, I actually did that. And so I think that you just have to realize that sometimes you're your own worst enemy, and you're capable of way more than you think that you are. Even if you're a parent and you have a million other things going on, you deserve to take time for you.
Yeah, I think the pictures is so powerful because most of us only really ever step on the scale and then look in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And in the mirror, you're not going to see change because you see yourself 5 times a day. And on the scale, you can actually look better and gain weight, right? So the pictures, I'll never forget my first prep, looking at my pictures, just like you said, and thinking like, oh man, I don't look that good. I was still far away from the stage. And then I pulled up my initial picture and I was like, oh my gosh, look how much different I look. But you don't see it because you see yourself every day and you don't see your backside. And I
Right.
was I was losing a lot of fat on my backside that I didn't realize in my back and my love handles, that I was like, oh, and I remember thinking like, oh, now I got to really try harder. So
Yeah.
if you're listening to this and you don't want to do a challenge, you don't want to submit pictures, take them for yourself. Just put them on your phone and just keep them so you can compare, because the human body is so adaptable. You eat well, you train hard, you sleep well. It really does make a huge difference.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think especially now, being in public, being at the beach, I almost feel like an outcast that I'm in shape. Like it's very
Yes.
odd. I mean, the far majority of people are not only overweight, but they're like very overweight. So I think maybe they've just accepted that, and hopefully we can help some people unravel that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird to be told, like, after I had my baby, I was at like 39% body fat, and they were like, you're like considered obese. And I was like, what? Because I mean, I wasn't, right? But according to that, I was. And so now I'm at like 19% body fat. And so I'm just like, it's insane. In 7 months.
Well, let me ask you this, because it's something that's happened, to a few women that I've known. Do you get fit shamed? Like, oh, you should eat more, or oh, that's like, yeah,
Unfortunately, the shame that I get is mostly from family members.
yeah, that
Yeah.
you're missing out or something, or
Yeah, yeah. Like during this, we had a family reunion, and they were like, "Why do you need to like make sure that you eat this way? And why can't you just take one day off of the gym?" And so it was hard to explain, like, this is what I've committed to myself, and I promised myself I'm not going to stray just because you're all in town, you know what I mean? And so it's interesting. And yeah, so I have some family members that are overweight, and they just don't get it. They're like, why would you take that time away from your children to like go to the gym? To me, it's just something that I feel like, why would I not? It makes me a better mom.
yeah, absolutely. You being healthy and happy is going to make them better, and you know, they see that. I remember, I went back to school a couple of years ago, and I remember thinking, my son was 4 or 5 at the time, like he saw me pack my book bag and go to school at 40 something years old, like
Yeah.
I think those kind of things, you remove those barriers to their thinking. And the last vacation I went on with my children, we were all at the pool, and my oldest son looked at me, and I was like, what? He was looking at me funny. I said, what's he's like, you don't look like the other dads. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you're in really good shape and they're not. And I was like, well, yeah, that's because that's how I live my life. So
Yeah.
the fact that he verbalized it made me like, oh, okay, good. He's noticing something. So
Yeah.
of course they're playing soccer 5 days a week, so they're shredded.
Hmm.
But yeah, so hopefully I'll have that impact. And I think that's the hardest thing about being a parent, right? Is like you have all these other people chirping that this is how you should be, and you have to kind of do what's right for you and your
Yeah,
kids.
absolutely. Yep. That's the
Awesome.
hardest part.
All right, so 3 daughters. Last question. Are you going for the son?
So my husband's an only child, so he's like, we have to try one more time. And I'm like, okay. But I feel like we have twins running the family, so I'm like, we're gonna end up with twin girls. So I just know it. So we'll
Imagine
see.
5 girls under one roof plus you 6. That poor man.
Yeah. It's
I,
great.
I had I had 2 boys first, and our daughter is 4 now. She has been by far and away the most challenging child of all of them. Like, man, if we'd have had a daughter first, I don't know if we'd have had any other kids.
Yep, I'm right there with you. My oldest, I'm like, your attitude is wild, girl. Like, yeah, and she's only 10, so I'm scared for my life in the next few years.
Yeah, everybody tells me I'm in trouble when she's a teenager, but yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I really appreciate you, Whitney. Thank you, and congrats.
Thank you.
Hopefully that money comes in handy for kids and competing in bodybuilding.
Yeah, definitely will.
If you
Thanks.
ever need anything, let me know. Do you have any social media that you like to share? Do you have any, do you use Instagram or
Yeah, I have an Instagram. My Instagram handle's Whittney Waden. So it's Wittney. So two
okay.
T's with Whitney Waden, Waden, fit, FIT.
Perfect. I will check that out, and once we get this put together and sent out, I'll make sure we tag you and everything.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much, Paul.
Thank you, Whitney.